If a Ministry of Railway employee opens her inbox today, everything looks the same. Her email address still ends in the usual gov.in. The login page still shows the logo of the NIC or National Informatics Center, the government's tech partner. Even the help desk number is the same. But behind the scenes, something has shifted. By April 1st, more than a month ago, nearly 2 million of the NIC's 3 million plus government email accounts had been moved to the service of Zoho Corporation, a 30-year-old cloud software company from India. This shift was first announced in the parliament by Jitin Prasad, the Minister of State for the Ministry of Electronics. The remaining accounts are expected to transition by mid 2027. The government is spending almost 200 crore rupees on this migration. But for Zoho, that amount may as well be loose change, considering that it posted more than 3,000 crore rupees in profit on a 12,000 crore rupees plus revenue last year. What Zoho does get, though, is bragging rights. It now has the ability to say that it runs the internal communications of one of the world's largest governments. For the government, this is less a technology upgrade and more an escape. The IT secretary himself called out considerable issues with NIC emails in terms of security breaches. That's a list of issues that goes from ransomware attacks to power outages. For example, on New Year's Eve 2024, a power cut at NIC's Delhi data center knocked out Parliament's website, the Press Information Bureau, and dozens of ministry pages for hours. 2 years before that, a ransomware attack on IIMS Delhi had exposed more than a terabyte of patient data. For the government, security and stability was obviously becoming a high priority. For Zoho, on the other hand, these gains are mostly in optics. You see, only 30% of its revenue comes from Asia. So, a deal with the Indian government fits quite neatly with Sridhar Vembu, the founder of Zoho's Atmanirbhar Bharat rhetoric, and opens doors for government procurement conversations elsewhere. But by trading a 40-year relationship with NIC's open source software for a 7-year one with Zoho's proprietary stack, the government may simply be swapping one dependency for another. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Can. I'm your host, Rachel Verghese, and every day of the week, my co-host Nikita Sharma and I will bring you one news story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Monday, the 18th of May. Now, Zoho may have won the contract up till 2030, but during the assessment, it wasn't exactly the highest ranking service then. Minister Ashwini Vaishnav admitted as much. He said that last October, global and Indian organizations were both assessed on several parameters. Out of the organizations assessed, Google received a score of 8.9, Microsoft 8.8, and Zoho 8.6. This assessment was in response to MeitY or the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology initiating a procurement process in 2023 to modernize NIC's email infrastructure. The shortlisted vendors, including Zoho, submitted proofs of concept through the government's e-marketplace portal. After the first round, Indian vendors were given a chance to improve their bids, and Zoho upgraded its security features within 6 months. Vaishnav said that post the tendering, Zoho's bid was the best, and so it ended up being the one chosen. The reason Zoho got a second chance was pretty straightforward. The government was looking for an exit strategy from NIC's failing infrastructure, but it didn't want to hand over control to a foreign company. So, Zoho was a compromise. And soon, the Education Ministry issued an order asking officials to adopt Zoho Suite, framing it as being in alignment with the Government of India's broader vision of building a self-reliant technology ecosystem. In an email response to my colleague, the Kent reporter Inderpal Singh, Zoho described its government offering as a custom rebranded version of Zoho Workplace that lets departments run email and communications on what it called a secure indigenous platform. Here's how the contract works. It prices email at 170 to 300 rupees per account per month, depending on mailbox sizes, which range from 30 to 100 GB. If you add in the full Zoho suite, the cost per employee crosses more than 1,000 rupees. That's in comparison to Google and Microsoft's entry level plan, which start at 125 to 136 rupees, while enterprise plans scale to 1600 to 1700 rupees. But here's one thing that the contract sidesteps. You see, a former Zoho developer on the project told us that officially NIC still owns and operates the system even though the data has been moved to Zoho's cloudware and Zoho software is now managing it. It's kind of like this. The nameplate on the door still says NIC, but the one keeping the lights on inside is Zoho. Part of the reason is that changing habits has not really been easy. For example, employees had to be nudged into switching to Zoho Suite, and Meti was especially insistent on them moving away from open source tools like LibreOffice because of security concerns. That's actually a pretty sharp U turn from the government's own 2015 free and open source software policy. It said that it would endeavor to adopt open source software in all e governance systems as the preferred option. So, what changed between 2015 and now? Stay tuned. The cracks actually began showing last November. This was when NIC told West Bengal's Chief Electoral Office to move its election data off NIC servers and onto its own cloud hosted within West Bengal. This was welcome news for an office dealing with constant glitches during voter roll checks. At the same time, NIC also asked all non central government entities to do the same thing. These kinds of small but repetitive issues is what eventually turned the tide against NIC's open source setup. A former employee told Inderpal that while emails and a cloud platform called Meghraj haven't done so well, NIC continues to handle e-offices, e-courts, and vehicle registration through Parivahan and portal creation. Deepro Guha of the Quantum Hub, a Delhi policy firm that works with Meti, said that the government has realized now that it can't build and manage all IT services. Of course, it has built good infrastructure like UPI, for example, but services like Meghraj and GovMeet just haven't landed with the same success. But here's the irony: global trends are moving in the opposite direction. Governments worldwide, which are worried about data sovereignty, vendor lock in, and licensing costs, are all moving towards open source. For example, Denmark said in 2025 that it would ditch Microsoft Office for LibreOffice. A year earlier, Germany began migrating 30,000 government employees to Linux, swapping Word for LibreOffice, Outlook for Thunderbird, and SharePoint for Nextcloud. India, on the other hand, is moving in the other direction. It's discouraging open source tools, giving the reason that they could compromise the security of files. And this creates a different kind of trade off altogether. You see, proprietary software like Zoho's runs on a closed, hidden code base. The government has to take Zoho's claims of safety in good faith. It's the polar opposite of NIC source code, which is the kind that is visible to everybody. That means agencies like CertIn can independently audit software for backdoors and vulnerabilities. CertIn, by the way, is the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, a national agency for cybersecurity under MeitY. So, when it comes to software like Zoho's, security agencies like these can't really conduct the audits that they need to. But there's also a more important question here than just open versus closed software. It's about systems the government can run itself and those it needs to rely on a vendor for. S. Krishnan, who's the MeitY's IT secretary, argued that private sector companies, because of the sheer scale of its users, face larger risks of attacks and therefore built better defenses than any government entity ever could. The only condition was this: the vendor had to be Indian. But all of this still comes with a catch. You see, picking a single vendor, Indian or not, and standardizing an entire government software stack around it is how you end up in kind of a walled garden. Let me explain. You see, this just means that users will be left with some questions. Will a document created on Zoho Writer open cleanly on LibreOffice? Can Zoho mail data be easily shifted to another software if the government picks up a different company when this contract ends? Well, no one is quite sure right now, but there is a way around it, and it is called interoperability, which is basically the ability that a system has to work smoothly with another system or to be replaced by it. Now, Sridhar Vembu has spoken about interoperability before. It was in the context of Zoho's messaging app called Aratai. But as far as the Zoho Meti deal is concerned, this hasn't really been addressed in public yet. Unless that changes, though, Meti might just find itself in another 5 years negotiating from a weaker position than before. The only difference this time is that it won't be with NIC, it will be with Zoho.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription offers daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Rachel Varghese and edited by Rajiv Sien.